She vanished after a night out in Baltimore, and for nearly 50 years, her family had no answers, until a forgotten cassette tape exposed the shocking truth. Tonight, we uncover the haunting case of Roseanne Sturtz, a young woman whose life was stolen in 1975, buried in silence for decades, and finally solved by persistence, a detective's determination, and one unexpected confession. It was December 2012 in Red Oak, Texas, when Marlon Wade Reese's parents drove to check on him. He hadn't called in weeks, and that silence wasn't normal. What they found inside his modest mobile home would scar them forever. There, in the living room, was a large green trash bin. His feet stuck out the doorway. Inside was Wade's decomposing body, bound at the hands and feet, a plastic bag tied over his head. He had been shot twice in the skull. Whoever did this hadn't just killed him. They had tried to literally throw him away. Detectives quickly focused on his wife, Amy Reese. She and the couple's 3 kids had vanished. At first, police wondered if she was a victim too, but a search changed everything. Inside a storage unit Amy had rented, investigators found a mountain of evidence: blood-soaked bedding, clothing, and even firearms. In another trash bin, gloves, respirator masks, borax, and heavy-duty trash bags, the very items Amy had bought at Walmart right after Wade's death. Digital forensics painted an even darker picture. Amy hadn't been hiding from an abusive husband as she claimed. Instead, she was living a secret online life, explicit chats, planning a future with another man. Just days after Wade was murdered, she was already chasing attention elsewhere. Then came the most chilling revelation. Amy had enlisted her 12-year-old daughter, who had special needs, to help with the killing. Wade was executed while he slept, while all 3 children were inside the home. Afterward, Amy showered, cleaned up, and drove her kids to Walmart, calmly buying the tools to cover her crime. 2 months later, Denver police caught up with her. She was calm, cooperative, and showed no emotion when accused of murder. But the evidence was overwhelming. In 2015, Amy Reese pleaded guilty. A Texas jury sentenced her to life in prison. She won't be eligible for parole until she serves at least 30 years. By then, her children will be grown, haunted forever by the night their mother turned their home into a crime scene and discarded their father like garbage. Baltimore, 1975. 20-year-old Roseanne Ann Sturtz had her whole life ahead of her, working at a nightclub, chasing independence, and dreaming bigger than her city could offer. But one August night, everything changed. On August 24th, she was last seen outside the TikTok Club in downtown Baltimore. Witnesses say she left with a man. Hours later, she was gone. For months, no one knew what happened. Then, in December, hunters stumbled on a body in a wooded area near Columbia, Maryland. She had no ID, no name, just another Jane Doe. Detectives released a sketch. Months later, a co-worker recognized her. The Jane Doe was Roseanne. But beyond that, the trail went cold. For decades, her family lived with silence. No DNA, no witnesses, nothing to hold on to, until nearly 50 years later. In 2024, Corporal Wade Zufall reopened the case. Digging through old files, he uncovered a forgotten cassette tape from 1981. On it was an interview with convicted murderer Charles William Davis Jr. At the time, he denied knowing Roseanne. But Zufall pressed again, this time with a mugshot taken right before her death. Davis looked at the photo, noticed a scar, and finally admitted it. He killed her after an argument in 1975. The confession gave her family the truth at last. But because Davis had been granted immunity in 1981, he could never be charged. He remains in prison, already serving life for 3 other brutal murders of young women in the 1970s. For Roseanne's loved ones, closure came not in a courtroom, but in knowing her name, and her story would not be forgotten. Nearly 5 decades later, she is no longer just a Jane Doe. Roseanne's case proves that no matter how much time passes, the truth has a way of coming out. Nearly 50 years later, she is no longer just another Jane Doe. She is remembered, named, and never forgotten.